Hey guys! Today I want to talk about the two Manaketes that are out. What makes them good, what makes them bad, and some personal opinions on them. Let's get started. Alright, so let's start with talking about the similarities. So both of the Dragon Girls have a level 1 form, which allows you to use them as a Lord. Secondly, they have a support ability, which it activates upon attacking, which allows you to accelerate your bonds by putting one card from your hand into your bond area. This is really good earlier on because it allows you to play your stronger cards earlier than your opponent can. So both the Manaketes in this game manipulate bonds, whether that means adding cards to your bond area, removing cards from it, or getting stronger when you have a certain number of bonds. Nowi here on the left has a base attack of 20 and increases its attack by 30 when you have 4 or more bonds in your bond area. So her attack will become 50. And then if you have an odd number of bonds, she gains an extra 10, making her base attack 60. So generally, Nowi is going to be weaker than Tiki since her base attack is only 20, but when the requirements for both her effects are met, she's going to be equal to the 60 base attack Tiki will have when her requirement is met. On the bright side, Nowi has a range of 1 or 2, so she can actually attack far away, which makes her a little bit more useful in that sense. And then now Tiki has a base attack of 30, which is 10 stronger than Nowi, but she gains 30 attack when you have 4 or more bonds in your bond area, similar to Nowi's effect. So with the 4 or more bonds, she will become 60 base, while Nowi will only be 50 base attack. So that's why Tiki is going to be better in that sense. Also, Tiki belongs to the red deck, the Marth deck. So being a level 1 allows you to trigger Marth's effect whenever she is played. So you can use Elise to bring her back, and then she'll easily be a base 60 attack that you can bring back from a level 1, in addition to triggering Marth's effect and other effects that trigger in that deck. So in my opinion, Tiki is the better of the two level 1 dragons. She sports a bigger attack, and although she lacks the range, being a level 1 in a red deck really helps her increase her utility. In addition, Tiki has a level 2 form, which allows you to accelerate your bonds as well. By flipping 2 of your bonds face down, you can add 1 more bond to from your hand onto your bond area. And then she also gains attack if you have a certain amount of bonds, so she can become a base 60 as well. Although this Tiki has a 1-2 range, it's still not very good because she's a level 2 and she has no trigger effects. Usually this Tiki will only be used in a deck that has Tiki as your main character, so you can accelerate your bonds and play your level 5 Tiki as soon as possible. Now let's talk about the level 3 version of Nowi. So her ability allows you to get 1 card from your bond area back to your hand at the end of the turn. This is really useful since this is the only card in the whole entire game that allows you to recycle your bonds. So usually you would want to think about the bonds that you flip face down from card effects, and then with her effect later on you can get those face down cards back to your hand. And additionally, she gains a plus 30 attack when you have 6 or more cards in your bond area, making her base attack 80. Having a 1-2 range with a base attack of 80 and allowing you to recycle bonds, she's definitely one of the better Manaketes of the two. Now Tiki is completely different. Being a level 5, you really have to wait until late game to play her. So she's a base attack of 60, and her ability allows her to gain an extra 30 attack when you have 8 or more bonds. Now that's a lot of bonds, so you're going to have to wait pretty long for that attack to even kick in. Her other ability allows you to put the card that she milled into your bond area. So during your turn, when you attack with her, the card you use as support can be put into your bond area instead, which really adds up your bonds. But by the time you have 5 or more bonds to put her out on the field, do you really need that many bonds to have? So she's pretty good in a deck that requires the usage of a lot of bonds. So a deck that relies heavily on priests or mage effects, she'd be pretty good. But still, because she's a level 5, just waiting that long to put her out on the field is kind of slow. Her last ability allows you to do extra damage to dragons, giving her a plus 20 attack. So she can get a plus 50 if you were battling a dragon and you had 8 bonds on the field. But if your friend has an Inigo deck or some other deck that you're having trouble beating, making this Tiki deck will almost guarantee that you win, because once you get her out, Inigo cannot get over her with her base attack of 90. So, how many Tikis should you be using in a pure blue deck? Well, I think it depends on the deck that you're using. So in a Chrom deck, you don't necessarily need her at all, since she's a level 1, and she doesn't class change, so you won't get Chrom's effect out of it. But in a Indigo deck, for example, it'd be okay to use her since she is a girl and she'll increase how many bonds you can put down, allowing you to get your Indigo out even earlier. So in my opinion, it's really up to you and what deck you're playing. For me, I would not use any level 1 Nois in any deck that is not a Tharja deck. Now, Tiki, on the other hand, I would definitely use her in a red deck, especially a Marth deck, because she is a sport. She's usually going to be 60 attack and she's a level 1, allowing you to trigger effects. So in my Marth deck, I actually run 4 of her. In other decks, such as Ogma decks, you can still use her because she's level 1 and she'll still trigger your Ogma's effect. Now, if you were to have a mixed deck, I honestly don't think you should use either of them, since there are a lot of better options, since you have options from both of the types. So instead of using the level 1 versions, you could be using some other cards that are just better in general, since you do have more options, like I said before. So in a mixed deck, I would not be using level 1 Nowi or level 1 Tiki. Now, level 3 Nowi is different in my opinion. I think she's really, really good, and that in the blue deck, you would definitely use 4 of her if you could, if you have the room for it. Yeah, you would definitely use 4 of her. And in a mixed deck, you would still definitely use 4 of her. I think she's a staple in almost any deck you build. Being a girl, you can use her in an Indigo deck. In a mixed red deck, you can definitely use her to recycle your bonds, and she has range, which is great. And in a blue deck, it allows you to just do everything that you need, so she's great in every deck possible. So I definitely think you should use 4 of her in whatever deck you build. As for Tiki, I don't think you should use her in any mixed red or blue deck, since she's really not that great, and you have better options if you're using a mixed deck than to use a level 5 Tiki. But in a red deck, you could use her, maybe 1 or 2 of her, since she's really dead in the very beginning. Yeah, so I would just use 1 or 2 Tikis in a red deck, maybe none. You don't really need her. And but if you use a mixed deck, the only deck I would ever use her in is a Tiki deck, which would be a mixed deck. So in conclusion, level 1 Tiki is great in any red deck, and level 3 Tiki, or Nowi, is good in pretty much any deck you build that can play her. And I would play her in any deck you build. So definitely she is the winner for my favorite of the Manaketes that are out right now, the level 3 Nowi. So tell me, what do you guys think? Do you think Tiki is better than Nowi? Are you Team Tiki? Leave it in the comments below, and if I missed anything, don't forget to tell me. Thanks for watching my video, and I'll see you guys next time.